I think it's called an Opel Atom. It's a little two-door. Yeah, it's an Atom. Okay, that is a little two-door car. Looks very nice, very stylish, very modern. Okay, we will just take you inside. Alright, so looking on the door panel here, you know, we have the mirror adjustment, electric mirror adjustment. It's only got two doors, so it's a left and a right electric window operation. It's got a fully functional steering wheel, okay, with the Bluetooth and the radio controls, and there seems to be a speed control or cruise control as well. Okay, it's got a center console with a nice big screen over there, probably to operate, you know, your radio and things like that. Okay, we have an indicator stalk on the left hand side there, and we have a wiper stalk on the right hand side. We have you know, your normal clocks, you know, you have your speedo and you have your rev counter, and then of course we have a petrol gauge on the right hand side, a temperature gauge on the left hand side, and then of course it's got an info system in the center, which will tell you, like now it's saying the you know, the engine needs to be changed, the bonnet is open, you know, it gives you all that kind of thing. What I always like about dark colored cars inside, they don't show dirt that easily, you know, so the car seems to, you know, keep it, it seems to be clean mostly. You know, it's got a nice big cubby over there, okay, where the guy's got his books in, and I've got to stamp that book. You know, so yeah, and it's of course a 6-speed forward. Okay, 6 forward gears, 1 reverse gear, which is quite good. It's got a levered handbrake, and of course got nice big doors for getting in and out, so you don't actually struggle. It's got nice headroom, okay, nice up there. So yeah, you know, when you put the ignition on, it just gives you the normal ignition lights, you know, like your oil lights and your battery light, your handbrake light, and all that kind of thing. It does a self-diagnostic, and it starts switching off all the lights if everything checks out. And once you start the car, obviously, then the engine management light will go off, but we're not there. So let's go take a look and see what the engine looks like. Okay, so under the bonnet we obviously got a plastic cover that covers the engine. What you have to do, you have to take off the oil filler cap. Okay, and then there's I think about 3 or 4 grommets, okay, that holds that plastic cover on. When we turn the cover around, we will see 1, 2, 3 spots where it actually gets held, okay, where the rubbers get held. So that reveals to us a 3-cylinder engine, okay, if you look at the amount of coils that it has. So it's 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's a 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, because here you have a turbocharger, because this is only like a 900cc, I think, okay, and therefore they will normally go ahead and turbocharge the engine to give it power, okay. I see it's got a vacuum pump here as well, a separate vacuum pump that runs the brake booster. Remember, if you've seen that video on the EcoSport where I had to replace this pump, and the pump packed up and the brakes went hard. Anyway, we're not there. So now I'm going to put the cap, I'm going to put some flush in, put the cap back, and get the car running for 15 minutes to flush the engine. Yeah, so my Spaniard engine flush. Engine, make sure you warm the engine up first, please, okay. We'll put the whole bottle of engine flush into this engine, okay. Remember, warm the engine up for at least 5 minutes. We'll just go and we'll set the timer for 15 minutes, and we'll go ahead and start the car. Okay, I'll get back to you when that 15 minutes Okay, down below you just need to take off this little plate here that is on the driver's side of the car. It's 1, 2, 3 main bolts that holds it down, screws that holds it down, and then there's another 2 on that side. And those little bolts, they look like this. They are, you know, these they are Torx bolts. So you get one that is basically a 20 mil Torx, and then one is a 25 mil Torx. Okay, so you'll take off 5 of those little self tappers. Okay, 325 Torx and 320 Torx bolts. Okay, that you need. And if you don't know what the Torx Looks like that's what the Torx looks like. Okay, that's a 25 over there. Okay, so you need to take that off because the sump plug actually sits right here. Okay, it sits right here. So if you loosen the sump, you're gonna drip oil onto this plate and it's gonna mess all over the place. Okay, time's up. 15 minutes has passed. So we'll just switch off the car. And now we'll go and drain the oil. So the first thing that I do is I take off the filler cap, and I also take out the dipstick. So remember the plate I was telling you about? You need to take it out of the way, okay, so that we can get to the sump nut, which is a size 15, okay. That's the sump plug there. We'll just loosen her up. Remember now that we do have the cap, the filler cap off. We also have the dipstick out. Okay, so we have a clear run. You know, the oil will just sort of run. Oh, this oil's very dirty. It's very black. Okay, so that's your sump plug, which we'll take out. Okay, you can see that is a size 15 head there. All right. So we'll just get that oil to run, and then over here is where the oil filter is. I don't know if you can see it, but that is the oil filter over there. We're going to turn our attention to the oil filter once the oil gets to a trickle. Okay, but in the meantime, we'll just let that drain out a little more. Okay, for the oil filter, I normally just use a chain. You know, it's pretty simple for me. Okay, quite easy to get to. We'll just wrap the chain around the filter there, and we'll get it to start loosening off. Okay, once it loosens up a little bit, you know, until you can basically turn it we loosen it up until we can turn it by hand. And then by hand we'll take it off the rest of the way. Okay, just watch, you're going to get oil dripping. So if the oil's hot, just be very careful to allow the oil to just drip a little bit. What I normally do, I just take a rag, grip the filter with a rag so that I don't burn. Okay, and we'll drain out the excess oil and discard the filter. Right, we're going to go for the air filter. So what I would suggest is we just loosen up the one clamp here. Okay, we pull the red tab back here. Okay, so that we can just get this out of the way. We can pull this unit out of the way here. Okay, so we just unplug that, and then we do have three size T25 Torx screws, self-tapping screws that basically hold the cover down. Okay, the screws don't pull out, they just loosen up and they pull up so that you don't lose them. Okay, you can see they're not very tight. I'm not even using the ratchet to loosen them up. Okay, I can use my speed wrench here. You know, I can use my gun here if I want to make things faster. I'll do. Okay, so that's three. So we'll just pull this back. Okay, and there we reveal our air filter. Woo, it's very dirty. Okay, that's our air filter. We're going to go and we're going to get and source one. There's the number. GUD AG1682. Okay, so it's a GUD. It's the products that I would use. It's the first time I'm servicing this car, so we'll just put that back loosely, lightly, just so that we can get to the spark plugs now. Okay. So I will be using a size 10 socket over here. Here's a plate here. Let's just take it loose and I'll show you what it's all about. This is what holds down the coil. Okay, it basically holds the coils down. So it's there's three long bolts. like that, that goes through the coil itself, and then here is a bracket here, okay, that also assists in holding the coils down. I am going to mark my coils with a little bit of Tipex, so we'll mark a 1 and a 2 and a 3, okay. Yes, we don't want to muddle that up, and as you know, I don't like picking, so we'll just, you know, that bracket there has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes in it, okay. 3 of it goes through, 1 through a coil each, and the other 2 is just to hold the bracket onto the tappet cover. So we'll just pull this whole caboodle off here, okay. Just pull them off the spark plug. Okay, and once we've got them off, we're just going to inspect. Okay, we're just going to inspect the sections that goes down in there. We'll make sure there's no powderiness on it and there's no short circuits going on there. Okay, and then we can see the spark plugs down there. It would normally be a size 16. Okay, but sometimes they can be size 14. So let's just see which one we have here. That size 16 is not going onto the spark plug. Okay, that's my normal one I use, my size 16. That's not working. So I'm going to try the size 14 tube. Okay, the special tube socket that I bought for spark plugs. Because these more modern cars, you know, they basically use different sizes now. They're using size 12s. So we'll go ahead and we'll just loosen off that spark plug. And we'll take a look and see what kind of plug it is that they use in these cars. Okay. We can take a look at that. You can see that that is a long life plug. Okay, and that plug, it doesn't look like it needs replacing right now. These long life plugs are pretty expensive. They could cost upwards of 250 Rand each, depends on the car. I'm going to take them out, clean them up, give them a close inspection, and also inquire from the client when last he had spark plugs replaced. If it has to be replaced, it has to be replaced. Okay, you know, vehicle maintenance and repairs.com, we don't screw around. So I'm going to take the rest of them out and I'll get back to you when I'm done with them. Right, so I clean them up, okay, and as you can see they still look pretty good. Okay, I did speak to the customer. He said with his last service, which was less than 10,000 Ks ago, they did replace the spark plugs. So I am going to put the spark plugs back, okay, and just as a matter of interest, the number on the spark plug is, if I can read it, okay, it's a General Motors number, so it's not going to really be relevant. Okay, but they are long life spark plugs. I'm just going to put them back and put the coils back again. Okay. Okay, I'm just bringing you closer for when I put this plate and the spark plugs in the coils back. As I was saying, you get this plate that comes down onto the tappet cover. Okay, it has two short balls that basically hold the plate onto the tappet cover. Now remember our policy, we don't tighten anything, we thread everything first. So we have another 3 holes on the plate that basically goes through each coil. Okay, the coil, there is a thread below the coil on the cylinder head as well that basically holds the coils down and in place. So we just need to line everything up over there. Okay, with a size 10 socket, we need to turn it down against. We'll make sure they're all threaded. Okay, and once we know we are happy that they are all threaded like that, okay, then we can tighten them down. Okay, then we know everything is in position. So I brought you closer just to give you a better view of this, because sometimes when you explain it, people don't fully understand, and that's why visual references are always more effective, you know, than audible references. So we just tighten them all down. Now the one I'm tightening now is the center coil. Okay, we tighten that until the against, and then we just give it a nip, something like 5 Newton meters maybe, nothing hectic. Okay, and then once we have that in place, and then we'll know that our coils are not going to come loose while the car is driving. Okay, and we have our plate bolts tightened onto the cylinder head, so when you shake that, nothing moves. Okay, then there are just these little pins that pushes in here. Okay, it's just that little PP. You put it there into the hole and you click it. Okay, and nothing basically rattles around. You know, we put our wires back into its proper brackets so that nothing shakes around and gets worn out prematurely. Okay, so that's spark plugs. We didn't replace it in this case. Opel, it's unusual because Opel normally has one coil, you know, for all its cylinders, but I suppose because this is a 3-cylinder, they have now put individual pencil coils in there. Okay, but if you need to replace the spark plugs, that's the procedure. Okay, here's the quick service kit, engine flush, HX7 10W40 full synthetic oil, a Z685 GUD oil filter, and an AG1682 air filter. Okay, that's the basic stuff that I'm using for this service. Remember that these spark plugs, you know, are long lives, and we don't need to replace them as yet. This car doesn't take an external fuel filter. The fuel filter is intact. Right, so we have our brand new GUD AG1682 air filter. Okay, you notice it's got a little PP on the one side. PP faces to the engine. Okay, so we'll just put that in like that very easily. We'll take our top. Remember, the top has these two little protrusions here. They have these two protrusions. It goes into those two ears there. Okay, so we'll just put that in nicely like that, and then push it down. Okay, we'll put that. We'll get the pipe slid over. Alright, and now we'll tighten down the Torx. Remember, there are Torx 25s, which we'll just tighten down there very easily. Okay, get those three. We'll get those three down. And then we'll tighten the clamp with a flat screwdriver. Tighten the clamp down nicely, and then of course we will put our plug back. Okay, click our plug in and put the red locking tab in, and that's as simple as it is to replace the air filter. Okay, so now we'll go and we'll get the oil filled. Right, there's no sump washer here because it's got a rubber inlay in there, but I do put some threading tape on to help seal. Okay, what we'll do is we'll just put a light film of oil on the rubber so that the rubber doesn't stick when we tighten it. Okay, so now we go and fit the sump plug and the oil filter. So we'll go ahead and we'll turn our oil filter on by hand. We'll make sure she threads properly by hand, okay, before we put some pressure on. Okay, you tighten it as tight as you can by hand. Okay, nice and tight. We'll just take a rag and we'll wipe off all our grease marks, dirty marks there. And then we'll take our sump plug, Okay, and we put our sun plug back. Alright, same thing. We'll turn it by hand, okay, to make sure that we have the proper thread. And then we'll take the spanner and we'll tighten it up. We'll tighten it up to more or less, we tighten it up to exactly 25 Newton meters. Okay, that is the torque setting on a standard sun plug. Alright, if you have a feel for it like I have, you'll know how tight to make it. Okay, otherwise use a torque wrench and do it to 25 Newton meters. Okay, and then we'll just wipe off all the excess dirt there. Okay, the spilt oil and so on. We will come back here and check for leaks once we've stopped and fill the oil up. I will start out my oil with 3 liters because we don't want to overfill. Okay, so I'll put in 3 liters of the 10W40 oil which I bought for this car. I believe in this brand, Helix HX7. Okay, I think it's a good spec for this car. So we'll go ahead and we'll put in that 3 liters initially. So I'll put in an initial 3 liters of oil. And let's check where the dipstick is. Okay, it's coming up to the maximum, okay, because the maximum would be over there. Okay, on that second maximum would be on that second dot there. Okay, so we'll just put the dipstick in one more time. We'll take a look and we'll see she's actually exactly on that mark. There will be enough to start the car safely. Okay, inside the car we'll put the ignition on. Keep an eye on the oil light. Swing and make sure that that oil light goes off you know, in a couple of seconds. As you can see, the oil light has gone off. Okay, let's switch it off again, give it a few seconds, put the ignition on. You see the oil light over there. We'll swing and the oil light goes off in a few seconds. Okay, alright, so we've got oil pressure. Now we'll go and check for leaks. Okay, no leaks, nice and dry. And then we'll check the oil filter. No leaks, nice and dry. Okay, so now we'll jack it down, level her out, and then do the final test. Okay, so all dry underneath, no leaks. Alright, so we're extra liter after that initial 3 liters. That'll bring our capacity to 4 liters. So let's go and take a look and see what the dipstick says. Well, the dipstick says I am full. Okay, so 4 liters of oil for the Opel Atom. So all we need to do now is just to put back our little cover, okay, which you just put on and press it down, and then that cover is on properly. Okay, so that's the Opel Ecotech engine over there, and that is how simple it is to do the basic service on this car.